Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Elia. I'll try and keep this video as short as I can. And so just wanted to say that I've been off and on about whether I should continue trying to upload stuff. Recently, I tried to upload things that I'd been learning regarding the Barry Harris method. And a lot of people, it's just like politics or religion, right? I've discovered that there are Barry Harris haters. They say, why do you put him on a pedestal? And why do you think that, why do you treat him like a god or something? And other people say, yeah, we need more of this. And so where I'm coming from is that I never knew about Barry Harris until about 10 years ago. And about 10 years ago on YouTube is where I first discovered one of his videos that, you know, his students would have posted up. And through that, I went down the rabbit hole of learning a lot about Barry's method. And I joined Open Studio many years ago because of Peter Martin. And Peter Martin is an incredible pianist, educator. I love that guy. He's just incredible. And through Peter is like the founder of Open Studio. And Open Studio grew into what they now have is there's Open Studio where you can sign up and purchase courses that they have. They're pre-recorded courses, so you can watch the videos of whatever it is that you look at. And so I did that for a bit. I wanted to get better at solo jazz piano. Because I've always played in bands. I've always played in trios, duets. So I've always had a bassist play the bass for me, and you know, I wasn't confident to play, to know what to play with the left hand. Like, do I walk like a bassist, or do I not do that? And just trying to figure out things by watching other solo piano players. There was like the elite players, just top of my head, people like Bill Charlotte or Sullivan Fortner or Emmett Cohen or Gerald Clayton. Just you know, whoever they are that are playing solo piano, Kenny Kirkland, Mulgrew Miller. When they play solo piano, it's always, they sound different from each other. So no one's always playing bass line in the left hand, and some of them, sometimes they play a little bit of that and sometimes they don't. And there's no black or white answer. There's no like, this is the way you should do it. It's like everyone has their own interpretation, right? So sorry, I digress, getting back to Peter Martin and Open Studio. So that's why I joined, because I just wanted to get more confident with the idea of, okay, what are some concepts that I can apply? And I wanted to hear it from someone who's a boss, someone who can play and is a master at playing the piano. And Peter Martin is definitely one of those guys. So shout out to Peter. And so that's why I started playing with, that's why I joined Open Studio. Prior to that, I had, I'd done my university thing, and I'd been playing for so many years since high school, playing in little jazz bands or covers bands from New Zealand. And so where am I getting at? So Open Studio has evolved now into this really cool thing, and they have another thing offered to the public, which is Open Studio Pro. And you can sign up, and Chris Parks, who is one of Barry Harris's students, he's a guitarist, and he teaches the Barry Harris method on Open Studio Pro. And so for a long time, though, even though I could see Chris Parks' name within the Open Studio Pro community, I didn't join his class because I was too busy checking out Peter Martin's jazz piano method. And I was also a part of, they have a jam session challenge going on there. So I kept myself busy in that world while I'm doing my gigs and doing my teaching and stuff here in Japan. And then I finally decided to check out Chris Parks' classes, only because I've been listening to a lot of interviews from different people like Aaron Parks, Sullivan also, and I think I mentioned Emmett's name before, and they all mentioned great things about Barry. And so I thought, well, are they just being polite, or is there something really, is there something to Barry that I'm missing? So I went to check him out, and I'll be honest, I couldn't get into the first couple of classes that I had watched from Chris, not because of his teaching. He's an amazing teacher, and it's just that it sounded too familiar to the things that are not Barry that I was already used to. Like, there was one thing that got to me. Like, for example, someone was mentioning this is not a C major 7, it's a C major 6 with a bar diminished. And then that made me think, man, why are you wasting your time saying that? It's a C major 7. Why do you have to say bar diminished? Does it make you sound any better? Are you like, does it take away or add to your playing? It's just a different way of processing it, right? That's surface level. That's the answer, my answer, and it was surface level because I forced myself. I gave myself 3 months to go through all of the pre-recorded classes from Chris Parks, and during those 3 months, I just bit my lip and thought, okay, I don't need to hear that. I've heard this before, but it's just said it in a different way. But unbeknownst to me, I was also learning a language and a methodology that goes with that language. Like, there's a reasoning for saying that this is a major 6 with a bar diminished. Because in Barry's world, from what I've learned, he teaches like scales of chords and then the scales for soloing. And then there's like somewhere where they might cross over, but for the most part. So when we're looking at chords, this comes from a scale. In this instance, it comes from the C major 6 diminished scale with the concept of borrowing. So a lot of people that listen to they check out Barry's stuff and they only see this. They think, oh, that's just the old sound. I'm not into that. No, thank you. And I was like that for a long time. But I was missing the next part that comes after that. This is only level 1 of 100. And so once you understand this concept, you probably, it's okay if you want to play that, but for the most part, many people are not going to play it like that. Many people who know Barry's method, they may not play this exactly like that. You might want to understand the concept of borrowing. So I'm borrowing the C for the diminished note, which is so much for watching this. Here's a little intermission for you to go and grab yourself something to eat. But you better be fast because we're going to continue in 3, 2, 1. You might want to understand the concept of borrowing. So I'm borrowing the C for the diminished note, which is D. So in the C major 6 diminished, you have that, and that you have 4 notes of the major 6. and 4 notes of the diminished. And if you're playing one or the other, you can borrow notes from the chord that you're not playing. So if I'm playing a C6, I can borrow any surrounding notes of the diminished. So the bottom note C, I might borrow a D and then return it. I might borrow the E for the F. I might borrow the F for the E. You know what I mean? I might borrow the diminished note. For the G, I might go to the G sharp. Now that's tension there, and you might not like it, and that's fine, but it's just showing you the possibilities, right? And so you can move the A, and that's where you get your major 7, but it's really a diminished note being borrowed. And so that means you could borrow more than one note. How about these two? What about these two? What about these three? What about those three? You wouldn't say borrow all 4 because you're just changing the chord, diminished. But you get the idea, right? And so now that if you understand that, if somebody says, "Oh, it's not a major 7," well, it is, but it's really you're just borrowing a diminished note. And then after a while, just imagine that you practice this every day for like non-stop for 3 months. You're no longer going to be thinking major 7 to the 6, although that will just be like just part of it. You already know that. You know that's a major 7. But you'll also be thinking of it as, it's a borrowed diminished note or 2 borrowed diminished notes. And that means something, because then you could do things like drop 2, and depending on the inversions that you're playing, you could do borrowed diminished, return, right? And so that just opened up a whole new world for me as far as harmony goes, because before Barry, I was trying to make up my own ways of figuring out harmony, and they all sounded modern because I was basically just trying to go off shapes. I was thinking, how many ways can I improvise or make up a chord over, say, the note B? And just for example, there's so many ways to play this kind of sound, or I did that one, or this one, or right, and those things I still love, and I love to add those in as well. So for anyone that's saying, why are you putting Barry on a pedestal? It may seem like that, but it's like anything. I mean, if you're just focusing on, if I upload a video and I'm saying, hey, Bill Evans, check out these so what voicings, and all I talk about was Bill Evans, it would be the same thing. Why are you putting Bill Evans on a pedestal? I think we all go through phases, and we keep the things that we like. And I've been seeing through my own personal private students, those who want to learn how to play the bebop language. I think Barry's method is amazing, and it gives you some really, really awesome sounds that makes you sound like you're in the same ballpark as Charlie Parker and Bud Powell in that bebop era, because of the way that Barry puts these lines together. Things like, let's say we're doing autumn leaves. So C minor 7 to F7. Now in the academic world, we might be thinking C minor 7 as, let's play Dorian. And the F, let's play Mixolydian, play the notes from that scale, and then play Ionian. But in Barry's world, the 2-5-1 would be, there's no 2, it's just a 5, because that C minor 7 is also part of an F7 scale. And so I'll show you what I mean. So let's say here's the F7. Now you're not going to actually play exactly like this, but just for this video so that you can hear the notes. So here's C minor 7. And that sounds okay. And then over the F7, there were no wrong notes, right? They all sounded right. So that's level 1 of just letting you know that F7 works over C minor 7. Now there's a whole lot of different things we've got to learn over that F7, which will take it could take up to an hour or hours, depending how much you want to get into it. And one thing I loved about one of Chris Parks' classes is that he was telling us that one of his students asked him, "What do you do when you practice? How long do you practice for, and what were you practicing?" And he said something like, C7 or whatever, dominant 7th, G7, or whatever it is. He just practiced only that, like say C7 for like 45 minutes or something. And when I first heard that, I kind of chuckled because I thought, how can you spend 45 minutes just playing a C7? Like, I can imagine that you're breaking it up and you're trying to make up things from it. But this is where the difference between the big boys and the cheap plastic toys. Well, I don't know where they came from, but so for example, I was just saying you just make up something. But what is it that you make up? With Barry's method, you're given clear instructions of things that probably Barry heard or that he made up, that he was using in his own playing. Things, for example, like, I won't get into details, but one of those things might be a chord and all the different chords found within C7. And then all the ways that you can play that chord are those chords. Like maybe you can add in a half step, something like that, and then you connect it to other things that you learn for that scale. So one of Chris's lessons might be just one aspect of that, and it's incredible. And I've seen a lot of improvement and just great sounding lines being thought of, made up through some of my own students because of the Barry Harris method. Okay, this video wasn't meant to be talking about Barry Harris, but I just wanted to mention some future videos that I'm planning to put out. They're just going to be on little things that I'm discovering and things that I think work because I use them in my own playing at my own gigs or gigs that I'm playing in or recordings that I might be able to play on. All these things. It's not only limited to Barry stuff. It's also going to be anything. I mean, just whatever that I think is cool and fun for me. It may be boring for some other people, but I'll let you know what I'm going to be teaching at the start of each video. And if you like it, then, well, thank you for making it this far on this video. And I hope you can understand my English. It's a real pain to be able to type in the captions of everything that I say. So hopefully, if there's some automatic captions coming up, I hope it gets most of what I'm trying to say. Thanks anyway for everything, for your time. I really appreciate it. And hope to see you when I start posting. It won't be every week as I'd like to, but I'll try and definitely try and get one up at least every fortnight or something. And yeah, we'll go from there. Positive comments only, please, because I've lived a life of being around negative things, and I don't want to see that anymore. And yeah, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.